Anyway, okay. Welcome. I'm just here as a shadow moderator, so just here to introduce Jolene Tan, who will be reading from her manuscript, Bursting Seams. I had the privilege of reading her manuscript when Kenny from Books Actually and Method Press emailed me the manuscript. And I'm glad to say that it's a very intimate, very personal, very intense book of poems, and it will be out probably in April, 19th April, so do look out for that. But for today, Jolene will be reading a few poems from her manuscript. Just to say a few words, I'm glad to see another book. The book is coming out by a female poet, and not just that, a female poet who writes about what I call real things, personal, psychological things, from a very intimate perspective on life, as opposed to void decks and alliance and social whatever. It's nice and refreshing to have more female poets do that in the literature here. So without further ado, I will have Jolene to read 5 poems, followed by a short Q&A session, and then we will round up with another poem. Alright, Jolene?
Okay, hi. Thanks, Cyril. I'm fangirling internally, but you don't need to know that. The first poem that I'm going to read, it's called Tsunami. I always read it first because it's the most, I wouldn't say it's the least emotionally intense, but it's not so personal. And it's about the tsunami that happened in Japan in 2011, I believe. It was like this tsunami. Yesterday, Japan became Atlantis. But we cannot turn into water people who will breathe with gills and live in the crystal palaces on the beds of the ocean. Fishes out of water, men in the depths in their places. While I was asleep, countries drank a drop too much, had wine forced on their faces, and there were people all over who dissolved into oblivion. What is the measure of God's fury? The world is dying. Okay, so that was the end of that one. And then we have about being beautiful, which is addressed to myself, I think. Because I had this moment where I was like, I'm having a bad body image here and I'm going to write something that makes me feel good about myself. So, being beautiful. I am beautiful not in spite of my perfections, but because of what I am. 5'2" and 70 kilograms. I am not your average Barbie doll, with a perfect hourglass figure. And by the way, that should remind you that her time is running out. I'm beautiful because this body holds stories that its skin tells, and every welt, every mark, every goose pimple is braille for you to run your fingers over and find out what I am made of. I am a writer, and yet when I cannot find the words for myself, my body forms a language for me, telling you things that I have forgotten. Love, do not be repulsed by what you see. Turn yourself into a blind person. Run your fingers over the dents and the rises in my skin and translate them. Read me like a book and tell me I am beautiful. Okay, and then since we read that one, right, I'm going to continue with another one. There was another reminder on another bad body image day because I have a lot of those. It's called Reminder. If they tell you, you are so big, Fernando Botero couldn't contain you in oil and canvas. Be proud. Say you were larger than life, too extraordinary to be appropriated into something people pretended to understand and called art. One day you will know that even if someone captured your body in an image, rendered it in paint, your spirit and your heart would melt past the boundaries and spill past the frames they used to cage you. When you feel like a mess of brilliant colors, remember then that this complexity, too much life and emotion and breath, this is what you are. The fourth piece is called Denial is a River, and it's not about body image, it's about a friend who likes to pretend that things didn't happen because she runs away from things. So, actually, Denial is a River is a joke, you guys know that, right? Because it sounds like the Nile in Egypt. Okay. Yeah. So the title called Denial is a River, and it goes, denial is a river, not a way to wash your hands off everything or create a new life. Not banks you retreat to withdrawing from what you know, not a stream that will bore your past away. You build levees on your shores to suppress the rampant emotions, but they are leaking through anyway. You are stubborn as sedimentary rock, resting tired and heavy on the waterbed. The current is still going strong, washing over you and bringing with it everything that you cannot forget. And the last one that I'm going to read is called Old Scars Still Talk. It's about scars you get from self-harming, I suppose, for those people who self-harm. It goes like this. Look at these mouths on my skin, they talk. I cover them with sleeves, but sometimes they are too loud. The sound waves making fabric slip to speak. This is my body, my skin with its lips, and it tells of the colors and pain in my blood, hazy memories I am afraid to break into sentences. And my words can't come right, but I know these mouths. They are born an angry red and so noisy, and even when they neutralize, quieten, and become knitted risers on my skin, they still whisper, see, she's an artist, she made us. And all those mouths on people's faces, on the correct places, they talk too.
Thank you. I just want to just start off the question and answer section a little bit. When you were compiling this manuscript called Bursting Seams, which it will be out in 19th April. When you were compiling the manuscript and deciding what poems that would go in, was there can you talk a bit more about the overarching themes that link to poems?
I think prior to sending the manuscript to Kenya, I was going through a period where I was struggling a lot with body image things. So I wrote a lot of poems about those. And I don't think I consciously tried to write according to a certain theme. I just write according to what I wanted to write. And then they just sort of came together in the sense that when I looked at my poems, a lot of them, or like more often than not, they dealt with body image and the things I felt about body image. And the thing is, I've always been someone who has very intense, excessive emotions, which is not a bad thing, but it can feel pretty terrible and can feel like I physically cannot contain my emotions sometimes because I have very psychosomatic reactions to my emotions. Like when I'm nervous, my stomach hurts. So I think what I picked up on was a lot to do with the body. So this whole collection actually deals a lot with body image issues and the things that your body feels, or like the emotions that I feel, because I always feel like the original title was Bursting at the Seams, which Cyril said was cliche, which it is. But as in, it made sense to me because it always felt like my emotions were kind of like bursting out of my body, and my body itself is bursting at the seams. Maybe not, but yeah, you get the drift. So a lot of it is related to excessive emotion and excess as a person, like physical excess itself, and how I deal with that. So those are the themes, I suppose.
Okay, that's something very, very important to stress, I feel, because I think as poets, as the kind of poets that we are, I think we share that in the sense that there is ultimately a sense of shame, not because it's our fault, but because we live in a society that would encourage us to feel shameful about certain things, feel shame about expressing ourselves in certain ways, the things you cannot say on the page, the things you cannot feel, cannot believe about yourself. So it's always a constant struggle, especially in Singapore. What do you hope to achieve with this book? And then following that, if you have a second book after this, what will be the development from this book of poems?
Okay. What do I hope to achieve?
When you encounter readers who read your book after it comes out, what do you want them to feel?
I think Wow, what do I want it to achieve? If I encounter a reader who has read my book and doesn't know me, I guess the best thing that I could hear from him or her would be to say that they identify. Because I struggle a lot, and a lot of my friends have told me that every girl has body image issues, and I know, but they're unique. Yeah, that's true. I'm not discounting that, I'm sorry. No offense intended. But I believe that your experiences are unique, but the fundamental nature of those feelings and where they stem from are the same. So I wasn't really thinking of what I wanted to achieve when I wrote this book, but I know that I do hope that people feel the sincerity and how real and honest my poems are, because I don't exactly hide anything when I write. That wouldn't be very honest, and I like honesty. Yeah, so I guess that's to answer your first question. Right? The second question was about what I hope my next collection to be. This is going to sound very shameless, I already sent it to Kenny.
Really?
Yeah!
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, but my second collection is compiled and the tentative title is Derivation of Faith, because it deals a lot with faith. And I suppose that's an extension of my emotions, because a lot of my life revolves around my religion, like Christianity, and my faith with regards to it, and just normal general faith in everyday life. Faith and hope kind of thing. So it's an extension of those emotions. Like, I think those are the ones that I'm most afraid to feel, because when you feel like you're putting faith in something other than yourself, or you're hoping for something, it feels like you're not in control, and I'm obsessive with control. So a lot of my emotions stem from not trusting people or not trusting myself. That's why the discussion deals a lot with faith, how to put your faith, where to put it, or where it may pop up in your life. That's generally it.
Okay, thank you. That's actually very, very revealing. No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I think when they encounter your poetry, when you actually meet them, trust me, they will ask all these things. And sometimes they will even ask more probing questions, like, why do you write about such things? Why is it so painful? It's like, isn't there hope at the end of the tunnel? That kind of thing. You encounter a whole spectrum of sometimes intelligence to stupid questions that you just have to suck it up and answer them. Yeah. So the journey is long. You've just begun. Does anyone here have any questions before I let her? Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. I'm Robin from the National Critics' Choice Online News and Television. My question for you, as to the author right now, is that have you found strength and solace after you have written the poetry, and also have you found your self-esteem being restructured as more of self-confidence in you right now? Have you found that now that you're able to love yourself? And what is beauty to you now today? The definition of beauty.
Okay, that is definitely a process. I have not completely reconstructed my self-esteem, but it is there, and I'm working on it. Writing does give you strength, or it gives me strength, in the way when you write something, there's a lot of construction that goes into poetry, because you can't just write something like, some people write a lot of empty words, and they don't mean anything, and they call it poetry, but there's a lot more to it, and I say that as a student studying literature, because when you write poetry, every word and every line is purposeful and it means something. So in that way, when I write, I do draw strength from it, because I understand my struggles better and where they come from and how to better deal with them in that sense. So there's a more concrete way to go about sort of like building it up again if I break down. So that's, and what does beauty mean to me now? That's a hard question, because we grew up in a society where beauty is like, size 0, big eyes, nice boobs, kind of thing. And it's very hard to shake that or grow out of it, because that's what we've been taught since young. I'm like, come on, and what kind of gift do you give like a girl on her first birthday? Barbie doll, right? So that's the ideal notion of beauty, and it's very hard to shake it, but definitely beauty to me now means a lot more than that. And it's about who you are as a person, isn't it? Like whether or not, like it really depends on your outlook on the world and what kind of person you are, the shape of your thoughts, how you think and how you express yourself.
But do you think poet is beauty?
I wouldn't say that it's confined to that. I definitely find confidence in my identification as a writer or someone who writes poetry, but I don't necessarily think that there's an absolute definition that you can give. Words are beautiful, yes, and to have words is a blessing, it's a very beautiful thing, but not all poets are beautiful people, and not all beautiful people are poets. You know what I mean? Like, it's not mutually inclusive, like the idea of a poet and beauty.
Plenty of poets are really rotten but they write beautiful sentences. I've met them. But does your faith as well? I mean, I'm sure that's also another interesting, not interesting, that's a very trivial way of saying it. It's a very important aspect of you, you know. Does that your faith contribute to your ideas of beauty now, in the way you express beauty through your words? You know, I'm talking about yourself and all that.
I think definitely, because when you talk about my idea of beauty, some of it entails being complete as a person. And my personal faith and religion and belief is that I want to be somebody who's complete in God, like as a Christian. And that definitely is beauty because it's beautiful and the kind of peace that you can experience when you're there. I mean, I've had it before, but very briefly, and I want it back. So it's definitely like my faith and my notion of beauty are very closely associated. Of course, I have bad irrational days where I'm just like, no, I must be size 0 to be beautiful. But then those days pass.
I mean, like you said, it's a process. Does anyone have any other questions? I think it's very difficult for, a boy like you, or boy like me too. I mean, because we write about such personal things, I mean, we end up putting our heart out there on the page. And when you ask us questions, they are ultimately personal questions, whether you like it or not. Because the poetry is about us, right? So it becomes a very Oprah Winfrey kind of moment, when you ask things like that. We cannot help but answer it in a very intimate way. So feel free to ask.
I have one other question. That is,
sure.
What's your favorite moment in writing your poets? Is there one poet that you found? I know you have lots of poets that's really. Well, let me rephrase my question again. My question is that what is your favorite moment in writing your poetry? Because you get all your inspiration, and of course you have written many poetries to compile in one book. And would there be one poetry that is closest to your heart that you'd like to tell us
You're asking
about?
about my favorite piece.
Yes.
So we are summing it up.
I mean, right? Okay, to answer the whole, what's my favorite moment in writing poetry, in general, it feels best when you finally finish editing the poem, because it's a terrible process. It feels like you're cutting off your fingers and trying to sew them back on, because you don't know which parts should stick, which parts don't, and every line feels like a child. So when you finish editing it, for me, some of the times, it just feels finished, So you look at it and you're like, yeah, I like this. So that's nice. As for my favorite piece, I have a lot actually. It's very hard to choose, choosing a favorite child. I think I like About Being Beautiful best, because it's honest and I didn't do any of the whole extending imagery thing, which always makes it feel a bit more distant. Like, I can look at this through an image, therefore it's not so painful to write about. But About Being Beautiful was very hard because I don't think I'm beautiful all the time. Like, my friends are like, oh, but you're beautiful. I'm like, no, but thanks. So it was a very hard poem to write because I was like, I'm not beautiful, how do I write a poem addressing myself that goes about telling myself that I'm beautiful? But when it came, it just came. So that's my favorite because it was the most natural to write, I suppose.
Does anyone else have any questions? No? Last question? Yes.
About your tsunami poem, I'd like to ask, what compelled you to write it? Since it's not something that you personally went through, it's a tsunami, and if you didn't actually go through it, then if you actually write about it, it almost seems like it's just a creative exercise even for you. And like it might even be like trivializing the actual victims' experiences.
Right, okay. I do not claim to be able to represent any of the victims who went through the tsunami. So I understand your point about trivializing. It is true, it might be a bit reductive if I claim that it was a whole and serious representation of my experience, but it's not. And I do creative exercises, but very, very reluctantly. Like if someone tells me to write a certain thing according to guidelines, and just like, writing has become naturally, then like most of the time I just don't do it, you know. Tsunami happened when I was watching the news. I believe it was the day after the tsunami happened, and I was in my dad's room watching the news on the TV. And it kind of just came to me, because actually I don't know why. Yeah, so I just wrote it on my phone. I really don't know why I wrote it. As in, it just felt right to write it, because they were talking about the tsunami and how, like, in a moment, Japan became basically a mess of debris. And I just felt like I wanted to write something dedicated to it, but not representing it.
I think you're talking about compassion too. I mean, when you see someone else suffer, you feel it too. I mean, yeah, I mean, it makes you a human being, it makes you a good person. Not everyone has this. All human beings are good people, sorry, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, so you feel that sense of compassion. You see someone else suffering. Or to put it another way, put it in a more academic way, for example, you know, I think poetry is about bearing witness, it's about, you know, making testimonies. And the same argument was made about, you know, the Holocaust, about 9/11. Like, how dare you write about the Holocaust? You're not Jewish, you didn't go through it. But then if no one does it, it will be forgotten. It's a record. It's an emotional record. All records are imperfect, but it's still a record. It's a human record, you know. It's like, and sometimes poetry can be one of the best ways of bearing witness to pain, universal human pain. You know. Of course, there is the risk. It's true. There is the risk of trivializing it, but it's a risk I think you and I are willing to take. It's a risk.
Can I just add that,
Yeah.
like, in writing the poem, I acknowledged that I was distant from the situation and attempting to contain something that couldn't really, because if you look at the visual form, which you can, once the poem is out, it's 7 syllables a line in 2 sentences. So it's pretty contained, I think. Sorry.
It's okay. Does anyone else have any questions? No? No questions? Kenny, do you want to say anything before Jodie reads her last poem?
Okay, the actual problem for the books both with Jolene and of course these things. We had the bookstore on 19th of April.
Books actually 19th April.
Because we'll be having a major event at the bookstore, and both Jolene and these things have us to kick off the event also. So on the 19th next month.
I think it just helps if everyone joins the Books Actually Facebook group.
Page.
Facebook page. And then all the events will be there and you'll be updated, you know, Books Actually. So 19th April, just put that date somewhere in your subconscious. So if there are no more questions, Julie will read her last book.
My last poem is called My Belly, and it's about my belly. I wrote it in train, like MRT train, right? You will never know. My belly is a flower pot. I sit here, cradling it between my arms, and it nestles in the crooked of my elbows. But I don't like the way the flower looks, distended and bulging. It's too big. I could wrap it up, or cut a slit and drain the extra sap from it, but that would be cheating. They tell me to take the flower pot and run until the head, too heavy, drops off, petal by red petal. Still every day, I water this flower and I can't stop.